Well, for most of us who used smartphones for any length of time before switching to Linux, learning how to download a lot of graphical application on Linux distros was quite a smooth process. Like, just open the app icon that looks like an app store, and what you see is an app store where everything is free to download. Not only that, but none of the application has advertisement or in-app purchases in them. It felt refreshing. This has been the situation up to now. However, things are seldom meant to stay the same. In fact, through these years, a topic that has been discussed more and more is the sustainability front of free software projects. It's easy to forget that maintaining free and open source projects has a cost, like computing resources, time and energy are only a few of the resources consumed while maintaining such a product. A lot of the open source applications that you love are not developed as a job, and they are not meant to make a profit. They are side projects that are mostly maintained by students and by developers who work a regular corporate software development job as their 9 to 5, but also manage to find the time and energy to spend on the project in the limited amount of time, free time that they have. So how do you maintain a free and open source project? With traditional proprietary applications, a very common way to get people to get motivated to build and maintain those projects is the profit motive. Like, not only do you have the fun of building something you love, but you can also turn it into a revenue stream. Many use the extra money derived by the sale of some software as a side hustle. Many more dream of escaping the 9 to 5 schedule to gain more flexibility and work on projects they like better, and launching a successful application is often seen as the way to go. It's still the same dream born in the early 2010s as smartphones began spreading. Like, the mobile market was seen as a great opportunity to launch a successful product and make a bunch of money. On the other hand, looking at free software projects, things are not quite the same. People typically do not make much money from open source applications where donations are the main revenue stream. The motivation to maintain the project, even though the most annoying course and more stressful periods, has to come from somewhere else than the profit motive. It is no surprise that most of free and open source developers are very passionate about what they do. They do not merely tolerate or mind the act of building the software. They are passionate about something and they want to bring it to light. But passion only gets you so far, and it is often not enough to motivate people past an initial sprint where an initial working version of the project gets released and then it gets abandoned. Linus Torvalds showing... Oh, this was the caption of the image. Shouldn't be here. Anyway, it is It is very common for free software maintainers to reach a psychological condition called burnout. Burnout is what happens when you overload yourself, either by overworking or by having too much pressure put on yourself in general, to the point where you start losing efficiency and your mental and physical well-being are quickly decreasing, and you start to feel more and more tired. Then you start to dread your work. Then you start to lose motivation to even pursue hobbies you like. Then you begin struggling to get even your basic daily tasks done. When left unchecked for a long time, there is a very, very real possibility that it could lead to depression. Burnout is the sneaky beast that is sadly infamous in the software community. In fact, burnout is often the real death of open source projects. How often have you used an application that has something like ng or next in its name? And that would be a strong indicator that application was not being maintained by people who originally wrote it, but was picked up by somebody else. Sadly, lots of smaller projects die this way. The lone maintainer who works on them gets tired and quits. This is made more and more aggravating as a piece of free software starts getting popular, so users begin to complain about bugs and missed features. And by the way, some companies who use the software freely without contributing anything back begin pushing for some changes and fixes the same way they would do for commercial products that they're paying for. That also happens. It's also not only small projects that get affected. People leave big projects due to burnout all the time. In fact, without delving too much into Linux kernel drama, during the past few months, a bunch of Linux kernel maintainers have left their positions. In my video, you can find one example, but it's often partially or mostly due to burnout. So how do you solve burnout? Well, there are several approaches that one can take. However, the most effective remedy is to just reduce the amount of work that you do. This is why contributing to an open source project is such a good idea and a fundamental practice. Not only will you learn a lot by working on technologies that your company doesn't maybe use and that you would otherwise never even discover, but you're also helping out the maintainer. Any contribution that you make is some load taken off the maintainer's shoulders, and it will be deeply appreciated. However, code donations are not the end-all be-all. Financial donations are also equally important. Money can be a good motivator to keep building the software, and it can even be put back into the development in many ways. Maybe a maintainer owns an old, slow computer, and putting some donation money into something more powerful can do wonders to help the development process. Maybe some bills need to be paid, or host API somewhere, or one of the most obvious options, money allows a maintainer to put more hours into their project. When you have a second source of income, it's much simpler to reduce your job from a full-time to a part-time, get paid less for it, and use the remainder of the time to maintain the project. The question is, do donations work? How do you even integrate money into free software? Well, donations are nice for all the reasons that we have just stated, and they are a great help to the project. They also allow anybody to make an important contribution to a piece of software, even if coding skills or writing skills for documentation or even energy and time are not assets they can contribute. In a lot of cases, it might be easier to contribute to a software that you know love, like KDE Plasma, by periodically donating the financial equivalent of 1 hour of your day job to the project. The problem with donations is that few people actually make them. Altruistic folks do exist, but for one reason or another, most people never actually donate to a free software project. Some projects have reacted to this in various ways, all of them mostly geared towards finding a middle way between the donation-supported model and the proprietary sale-based support models, which raises the question, selling an application in my free software community? Well, it's more likely than you think. While it might seem contradictory, the Free Software Foundation official definition of free software explicitly allows selling a piece of free and open source software for a price. Even Richard Stallman, founder of GNU, has repeated many times that copyleft software can absolutely be sold. Several free software projects try to sell their applications in order to gather more donation money to aid development, and they don't have an easy job to do it. It's a road full of roadblocks, and it's a hard balance to strike. There are two approaches here that are being explored: either strongly encourage a donation through a free offer, or just sell binaries. The former approach is taken as an example by Elementary OS, a really pretty Linux distro that focuses on design and providing users with a highly refined UX. If you look at their landing page at first glance, you will think that it is a paid-for operating system, but it is only when you look closer that you realize that you can choose the amount that you want to pay. If you want, you can go through the length of defining a custom amount of nothing and still be able to obtain the OS without any payment. They call it the pay what you can model, and it has its pros. People who can pay for the software are strongly encouraged to do it, whereas people who might not have the money to spare are not obligated to donate much, if anything at all. Another very interesting approach is charging for convenience. Some projects decide to leave the code completely free, but charge for pre-built binaries. This means that officially, while you are free to clone and compile the project yourself, which by the way is a long longer and more tedious process for a regular user, you will be asked to pay a fee to download a regular binary that you can install and run on your computer. This is the approach taken by Ardor, a free and open source digital audio workstation software. You will see it hinted on the initial download page, where you are asked if you want a ready-to-run program or the source code, explaining why the source code might be technically challenging. From there, it only takes a couple more clicks to be taken to the purchase page. You will be asked to make a payment, and you can choose between a subscription model, buying a single version, or also being eligible for updates depending on the amount of money that you pay. But is this effective? The answer is, well, it depends. On Windows and Mac, this model might work. On Linux, though, doesn't. Just as a test, let's see what happens when we look for Ardor through the available distro packages on my machine. And as you might imagine, you will have no trouble finding a free download there. Clearly, this is allowed. It's still free and open source software, so while the developers themselves might not want to give you a free binary, external maintainers of the distro are still allowed to repackage it, any kind of free software, and make it available for free download. This makes it really the no-brainer option for Linux users, not only for the price, but because there are several advantages to installing a piece of software from your distro repositories, among which I of course contain Flathub. The first and most obvious one is ease of access. It's just a much faster process to install something through your package manager than to go on a website, download the binary, put it in your path, and figure out how to manually install the package, like cross your finger and hope it works on your exact setup. You will even get software updates more easily, and you will get all the nice cool features of Flatpak, like sandboxing and the permission model. So it naturally follows, wouldn't it be cool if, as a developer, you could maintain your own Flatpak package on Flathub, and also handle donations or payments through a centralized way, like an app store, which would allow users to pay you for your binary or quickly send you a donation with just a click and a quick scan of your fingerprint reader. Enter payments on Flathub. While it is not possible to pay for application on Flathub yet, the problem has had the idea to eventually implement, the project has had the idea to eventually implement support for something like this for a long time. However, things are finally beginning to take shape. The GNOME Foundation, in conjunction with the KDE-EV, has posted a job offer looking for someone who would be qualified to lead the management of a program that would allow payments on Flathub and finish off the already started work on the payment backend. So far, one of the people who have replied to this thread is none other than Cassidy James himself, one of the core maintainers of the Elementary project. Paying for Linux applications is already a reality on the Elementary App Center, whereas where developers who make Vala apps targeting Elementary OS specifically can decide to make them a paid to download application. So as you can see, the details are still yet to be finalized, but things are moving. Job positions for this project are opening up, and some of the most competent people in this area of expertise across Linux community are beginning to show interest in it. If it all goes well, what this means is that Flathub will support paid applications as well, like a regular app store, providing a solid financing option for projects that decide to rely on it. It is yet to be seen what would happen to third-party packages that are available for free should the developers take over, but there is little room for speculation when the figure that is being hired is supposed to take care of all of these bits and details. It will be an interesting change of paradigm for sure, where paying for the convenience of having a Flathub package for some free and open source software you use will be a reality. Whether this will finally help project ease some financial pressure, or whether this won't help is yet to be seen. We also don't know yet how this will be used. On top of paid apps, direct payment through the store could also serve the goal of making donations easier. Reducing the barrier to donation is often a great way to obtain more, so that would be a great progress. Going back to Elementary again, their App Center has supported donations for a very long time already.